So we have a big task today to go along with this trial. One of my colleagues is a giant pussy. His name is Kurt. And we have these super tip voices, you know, things like this, right? Super tips are great.
This bitch looks like a transgender Red Skull. Like a Hishim Chu villain. I mean, this bitch looks crazy.
I can't take it. Ronnie O'Neill voice. But my colleague Uncivil Law sent a cease and desist letter to the super tip company to take his voice down because he's a giant bitch. And so I just want everybody to take an opportunity to use the super tip system
and the search at the defense request for
use a different voice to tell Kurt exactly how much of a
did you have a chance to speak to
how much of a bitch he is for that. What
yes.
a complete pussy.
Officer Lank asked me to go into
don't use my voice to make fun of me. Don't do that.
Nicole.
Hey, fake Mandy, why would a cease and desist work if you were right and it's legal to use someone's unauthorized voice for profit? Probably because the company doesn't want to get into a lawsuit with an autist just yet. Cease and desists work or don't work based on whether someone agrees to follow them or not. It's not like there's not like a function of it. It's not a legal decision that's being made by a judge. You dumb piece of shit. Kurt knows he has, if Kurt has any actual legal chops as that he pretends to, he knows that the use of someone's voice as parody has always been protected. AI cloning as an issue is one only when there's an attempt to deceive, to utilize someone's voice in a manner that people are unaware is a joke, or rather to utilize it to promote something that someone has not consented to promoting, or to use those use the voice to make deceptive statements,
Could you stop
defamatory statements, etc., etc. Again, not when it's a joke or parody.
Is that morning?
Don't worry, we will have a definitely not Kurt voice coming very soon. But as he is gone, I do need a do need to figure out what the new voice is. Kurt just rage quit his stream? No, he didn't. What for? His computer kept crashing. So even his computer knows he's a bitch.
Are they lifting him to the left?
Well, like I said, we now have an open slot for voices, and oh yeah, the autistic psoriasis lawyer slot needs to be filled. I haven't decided if it's going to be autistic psoriasis lawyer or depressed psoriasis lawyer, but one of those.
Yes.
I mean, I had someone for that slot, and now I don't. Yeah, so the challenge mode of the day for the chat, if you decide to participate, is, of course, to use the super tip option, to have a different AI voice, tell him exactly how much of a bitch he is.
Stop for a moment.
Oh, by the way, yes, I forgot to say, the super tips from today will be put, any super tips from today that involve Kurt will be put into a compilation video that we're going to upload as well. So, and we're going to have a legal explanation and discussion about it. So it won't just be a video mocking Kurt with super tip voices. It'll be me explaining why Kurt's a giant bitch, why his legal analysis is wrong, and then all of the mockery that could possibly exist from other AI voices. Those will be included, you know, as a bonus in the video. So if you want to have your...
Was it before or after that moment?
Your AI insults featured in a video.
Outside the car.
Today's the day. You need a law ER. Jim, how'd you know?
I'm not exactly sure from that video.
That's fine.
How'd you know that was
Move
coming?
forward to 6.
Okay, so the way it's going to work is I'm going to play them normally today, just in the course of the show, and then I will record
At this time, are
a
you
specific
still with
separate
the
video with
defendant?
those. And I'm actually going to
Some spot?
Yes, I am.
task Ryan with we're going to start incorporating super chats and that are good questions with when I actually have a good answer for them. And we're also going to have super tips as
Is it during this time,
certain
6:23 and 6:24,
independent
you
videos
decide
or
to
short
make
videos that
searches
get
at the
uploaded to
defendant's
YouTube.
request?
So if there's some extra value, you get to watch your joke go out to the world. This is a brief update. Kurt of Uncivil Law sent a cease and desist and had the super tip company remove his voice because he can't take a joke. He used bad legal theory that he knows is bad. He knows it's wrong. He knows it's a lie because Kurt knows constitutional
After
law
that day
and
when
he knows
you
speech
met with
protections.
Ms. Roberts,
She's being a huge pussy
and you
about
try
it.
to memorialize your memory.
What? You had to take Kurt the Cuck's voice off? Man, I know some losers like you, but Kurt is definitely scraping the cum at the bottom of the condom.
Oh my God.
God. Where's my triangle? Ding, ding.
Jesus. Some of these are gross. That's fine by me.
I might be black, but that is not why my eye is lazy. Also, I would on civil law, but I can't do it with pigs. And he show squeals like a little piglet. Riri.
The Nate voice is not strong. The Nate voice is not strong. It doesn't sound like Nate very much to me. But, well, it's there, though.
Wow. He sent a letter to remove his voice. My wife, Nick, and I even ate his semen, and somehow Kurt is a bigger bitch than I am. The toe always wins.
God damn it.
Kurt, enjoy the super tip voice and be flattered. I mean, flattered like I am. Then grab that cupcake we both have and use the frosting for lube.
Oh my God. So if you're joining late to the stream, we've of course had the super tip option since my return, which is where you can instead of sending a super chat or something else, you can have an AI generated voice read a message out loud, and we have a bunch of different options. And these are obviously not the person. These are obvious parody. These are jokes. These are not. I don't think anyone's under the illusion that
For the jury.
Kurt is calling himself like a giant fatso or whatever. So the whole point is to have just voices to say stuff that no one believes are actually being said. And Kurt sent a cease and desist to have his voice removed from that system. Now, Kurt knows, again, as someone who is a self-professed expert in constitutional law, Kurt knows that there are speech protections around parody. The First Amendment protects parody and mockery specifically. The First Amendment does not protect utilizing a voice in a manner that is deceptive, which would be invading someone's right to publicity, using it to create a false endorsement. It does not use an AI voice to create genuine defamatory statements, something like that. Again, with the caveat that those, that the voice itself is meant to deceive rather than to entertain, is a huge portion of why, when a voice can and cannot be cloned or imitated. But impressions, for the point of parody and comedy, have been protected forever. You don't get to employ the legal process because you don't like being mocked. Kurt knows this, and yet he decided to try and flex his legal muscles with a cease and desist letter to the Super Tip company. So today we're running a promotion. Not really. I mean, like, there's not a promotion in and of itself. I'm just suggesting that people have the ability to use any of the other AI voices to tell Kurt exactly how much of a bitch move that is Learn to take a joke. It's not just not taking a joke, though. See, that's the trick. It's not just not taking a joke. It's not taking a joke and then using a knowingly bad legal theory to threaten a company to try and stop people's free speech rights is pretty fucking pathetic. And as a member of the vaunted LawTube community, you would think Kurt would be better informed on the issue. If anybody wants to try out the super tip system today, to use an AI voice, tell Kurt exactly how much of a loser he is for doing that. And now that we have an open slot on the super tip voice things, we have to have the voice of a sad, angry tomato, and one of those is coming.
I'm so glad that I'm not the biggest bitch on the internet anymore after Kerplaw Eeyore sent a Cope and Seether to Melton.
It's amazing how much of a bitch some law Eeyores can be.
I'm going on the record that I have not given legal advice to Kerp. He called me crying, and I couldn't interpret his blubbering. Were not even words. He never asked me anything.
I'm representing Law Eeyore in the case of Cope versus Sneed. It's going to be my Mr. Greer's opus.
Mr. Greer's opus. Gross. What else do we have here?
Do you love black people?
How could I? I also have a micropeen.
Your Honor, what my client meant was his neck fat doesn't allow him to see past his stomach fat, making his peen invisible.
Ahmazine.
I can't. The super tips are too funny.
Where did my neck go? Why do I have to submit my credit card for a running tab at Golden Corral? Why does it take me 2 hours to get inside Form the front of the parking lot?
The evidence will show that Kurt is my exact type of bitch-made BBW. It will show that I did forcibly take his psoriasis tsunami cheeks. It will show I busted his booty full of my brother butter.
Oh my God.
Just because you haven't seen your penis in 20 years doesn't mean you get to sue anyone other than the spoon manufacturer, you fat fuck. Even I think you are a for that cease and desist.
Whoops, I mean, Kurt, your voice is not copyrightable. Stop eating the butter. Pause from porking Miss Piggy and do some squats so you can start looking like a skinny hippopotamus.
Also, Nick Kerr, have you considered a Jack Murphy voice, or is this one enough cuckold for you?
Skinny hippopotamus. Can't.
Uncivil Law, a.k.a. Kurt, a.k.a. Fatty McFatface. You make videos on the internet. You can't walk into the Thunderdome of the internet and ask for padded walls. Knuckle up or GTFO.
And again, you know, it's the thing that really pisses me off about it the most is that I know Kurt knows that his legal theory is not right. I know he knows that. And that's what is just, that's the icing on the cake. Wait, don't say that. Kurt will come running.
You call your channel uncivil, but the most uncivil thing about you is how you treat a microphone. Breathing into it like Darth Vader taking the bar exam.
I'm going to help Kurt with his ass cream. I just hope the ass zit situation is cleared up.
Gross.
Kurt looks like a transsexual Kathy Bates. Once you see it, you'll never unsee it.
One that sucks about backstabbing Nick is having to pretend Kurt is likable, even though he has less charisma than the fruit flies that orbit me.
Kurt's not the only one who talked about falsely using, a bad legal opinion, with no supporting authority to flex on the super tip system because they don't like being made fun of.
Kurt, cease and desist the destruction of Buffett's. I am potential criminal, and I approve this message.
No, here we go.
Kurt's legal expertise died when he argued that presidents don't have immunity. Once a bitch, always a bitch.
I know I look like someone who doesn't belong with the cool kids, but I rub buttercream on Kurt's ass, and he does mine, seeing as we both need train tickets for our own arms to reach.
Your Honor, my client is saying they both have their own gravity. I rest my case.
Damn, that's some huge bitches.
Oh.
The Merriam-Webster entry for Kurt has crusty as a synonym. I think it is an apt description of both his appearance and personality.
Damn. Oh, Kurt, why would you do this? Why would you do? How do you not know? How do you not know that this is going to be the result? Like it's the most obvious thing to do is to relentlessly mock you for being so sensitive about Kurt. No one thought that was your voice. Like no one thought you were saying those things. I don't know how much of the tism is in there, but no one actually thought that was you. Oh my God. But you should have known the result was going to be. Didn't you learn from when you were striking down videos? They will always come back stronger, like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
While I vastly outweigh you in size, and that is saying something, I bow down to your skills in being a copyright cuck yet again. You truly are the master.
It is I, Kurt, from Uncivil Law. How is my impression of someone skinnier than I? I tried to change my channel name to Pig Law. YouTube wouldn't let me, though. They said it would be offensive to pigs.
Damn. Poor pigs. Don't pick on them.
Every time I see Kurt wearing a cowboy hat, I think it's grounds for a Brokeback Mountain sequel.
No.
He does know that just because he blew somebody with a pickup truck doesn't make him country, right?
Your Honor, Kurt got very effeminate after being in a hot tub with Nick. We know that Nick is gay, but not that way. Your Honor, Kurt is a closeted homosexual.
Right, I'm openly homosexual, which is why I should be immune from all criticism.
Objection, Kurt can't make fun of my box fort when he lives in the copyright cut cage.
Okay, so Mr. K just asked a really, really interesting question. And it merits talking about, actually. The question is, can we get a Stephen Hawking voice? Actually, a Stephen Hawking voice would probably be subject to copyright protection from the company that created his chair and his robot world domination, throne. Because the voice that was given to Stephen Hawking was not his, right? Stephen Hawking was English. I always forget that he was English, but the computer voice didn't have an English accent at all. And that voice was created for Stephen Hawking. That's a creative work that's recorded. The reason you don't have a copyright interest in your own voice is because it's not your created work. There are voices that would probably not be, I shouldn't say voices. There are voices that people do that would probably not be able to be, at least under copyright law we're talking about here, not be able to be used in Supertips because they're the work of that person in creating it. I don't know if Bobcat Goldthwait, well, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. You know what I'm talking about. I don't know if that voice that he has is his normal talking voice or if that's a character voice that he's created and just used all the time, for example. But if there is, if the voice is someone's actual creative work rather than an inherent trait that they have, you don't create your own voice, but you might create a voice that you use for a character, for a persona, for a job, whatever. and those become copyrightable. If you think of voice actors, for example, like Vic Mignogna, his Broly voice, if someone were to try and AI recreate the Broly voice that Vic does, that would be copyright infringement or potential copyright infringement because Vic created that voice. That's not his voice. It's something he does and it's recorded in a medium. Now that thing has become something beyond just an inherent characteristic. So that's when you start to get into a more complicated question. Stephen Hawking's voice, again, from the chair was a voice that was created by the chair manufacturers. It's someone's creative work for the purpose of Stephen Hawking speaking. And since he's dead, I mean, he wouldn't have a claim, and he didn't make it anyway. The claim would belong to whoever made the voice, whatever company sold the chair, et cetera, et cetera. That's a great question. And, you know, generative AI and this mimicking AI of voice, AI voice tech it's new, it's untested, really. But if you get down to the basic underlying principles, the fact that AI is good at generating a bunch of different voices doesn't mean that people have not been good at imitating voices throughout history. I mean, some people could do spot on imitations. In fact, you know, there are voice imitation lawsuits out there that have been won before. One of them involves a guy named Tom Waits. I think it was Tom Waits versus Frito-Lay Company. They asked him to endorse a potato chip and record an ad. He said no, so they hired someone who could imitate his voice, had a very similar voice. And but again, we're going back to this concept where that person's voice was used, or that imitation was used deceptively to make it sound like he was endorsing a product that he chose not to endorse. That was the issue. If they had just someone doing an impression of him is not illegal and would not be. The question is the intent to deceive versus an artistic speech related purpose.
I've thought Kurt was snorting stuff on stream well before. I suspected Nick, just based on all the weird times he would turn his camera off and come back more energetic with an itchy nose.
Did Kurt do that? I never paid attention.
Kurt's mother should have ingested him, just like his father, who used to slurp up every drop of fine Nubian cream.
Oh my God.
Kurt Cunt, Lord Cunty Cuntingdon from the Church of St. Cuntswin of the land of Cuntsworth. Get on that cunt horse of yours and ride off to Cuntyshire. And once you get there, cunt off some more.
Damn. Wow. That's that was me. That was my actual voice, and that was me saying that. That was not an AI. I just said that myself.
Your Honor, the purported crusty person, also known as Kurt, to be referred as Krusty. Krusty is using unsubstantiated legal theory to remove the fun of others. What grounds does he have to ruin our fun?
As my co-counsel has stated, Krusty is butt hurt and needs more butt cream for his aching ass.
I'll get the cream.
Why would he think this is a good idea? I just can't get it. Like, Kurt, people are barely making fun of you before.
Cease and desist. This fat must cease to exist.
Oh, no. I disavow.
Copyright is a legal right that protects original works of authorship, like books, music, and art, granting creators exclusive control over their use and distribution for a limited time. YFNKYS.
Thanks, Goof. That's the voice of a guy named Matt Poster, I think, something like that. And the lore on him and why his voice is in there is not important. Just know that other than Ronnie O'Neill, that's my favorite voice because it just takes for fucking ever to explain stuff.
Kurt does illegal acts to achieve sexual pleasure from people beyond their consent.
Oh my God.
This is not parody. This is not a joke. I, Nick Rekieta, am legally enforcing and endorsing this statement.
No, it's an AI voice.
Anyone else think I sound like the midget Cartman fought in South Park?
The evidence will show that Kurt is a good candidate for Ozempic. Damn, that's a huge biatch. The evidence will show that Kurt learned nothing from that time he was copy striking people.
Huge biatch. The Ronnie O'Neill voice, man. It's too funny.
The Matthew Harris says Kurt is a bitch because Kurt is a bitch when the Matthew Harris says he is.
Kurt is the undeniable Amber Heard of the lawyer world. He definitely shit the bed.
So right now we're just going through super tips. Most of them are about Kurt because Kurt sent a cease and desist letter and had his voice removed from the super tip system. People don't understand how cease and desist letters work. Cease and desist letters don't do anything functionally. They cannot compel you to do anything. There are sometimes there's some laws in some states where the issuing of notice is, an important part of it, typically with stuff like harassment and stuff like that. So you issue notice, and a cease and desist can be an effective way to deliver notice to somebody, but a cease and desist has no legal force in and of itself. It can notify someone of an intent to do something, and some states will have like a harassment or even like a criminal defamation law, which would require notice and an opportunity for the person to actually cease the activity. And so, that's cease and desist, though, typically have no legal force behind them. It's, it's just notice. It's just a letter. You don't have to listen to them at all. I'm not a owner of Supertip or involved in it beyond just being a user, so I have no say in it. If they're going to take a voice down, they're going to take a voice down. I think maybe they know that that's going to be untenable in the long haul, but for now, they're not wanting to have that fight, I guess, which is too bad, in my opinion. But hey, I'm not paying the lawyer bills.
Kurt did not send a cease and desist letter. It was a greasing ass cyst letter.
Gross. Oh, here we go.
The evidence will show Kurt is reaching further than I did representing myself.
Tell me about it. That argument doesn't hit, just like my SUV ain't hit nothing at no parade.
Don't call the children nothing, Daryl. God, that's rude.
The evidence will show that Kurt was in the midst of a hemorrhoid rage when he sent that C&D. He attempted to calm this anal storm with Mrs. Buttersworth. Unfortunately, his gluttony was too strong.
Super tips are a fun way to engage with the show, like a super chat, except we have different AI voices that read the comments that you type in. If you want them to, you can do text ones too, but the more fun use is the AI voices. I had several of my colleagues listed in there with several more on the way. One of those colleagues turned into a giant I don't know. I don't want to call him a pussy. I'm going to go with giant bitch. We're going to just stick with that. That's what we've been going with all day. Turned into a giant bitch and issued a cease and desist. So his voice was removed. That person is Uncivil Law. My former friend, Kurt, who, for no explanation I can come up with, decided to put his jealousy on full display as I was going through a really rough time. And then reveled in the prospect of me getting punished with jail time for, again, no reason at all that I can imagine. So as I was always nice to Kurt, both in the front of the scenes and behind the scenes. And the last time I had spoken to him before he did that was, a conversation where, which I thought went just fine. normal conversation that I had with him for quite a while out of my day. But that being said, the problem with this is that Kurt is trying to stifle free speech. Parody and impression are protected forms of speech and expression, and mockery is as well. Kurt is trying to use bad legal theory that the AI voice is an act of unlawful cloning. However, that only has applied in the past to areas where deception is involved, where someone is trying to convince the audience or the hearer of the impersonated voice that it is the actual person, usually for a nefarious purpose, or to exploit the value of their voice and image, like an endorsement that they don't actually hold. So you could find like a company using someone to imitate the voice of a famous person to say, you should buy our product type thing. That didn't happen here. So we are using the super tip system sans Kurt voice because he has whined and cried to the company with a cease and desist. But you are welcome to use any other voice to tell Kurt how much of a bitch he is for that. Now, my problem with it is, honestly, one, it's a stifling of free speech, and Kurt is attempting to flex a legal strategy that he knows to be incorrect. He knows that it is not a valid legal strategy. He knows that parody and mockery and impersonation are protected forms of speech and expression, have been routinely upheld as protected. And so long as it is not represented as the actual words of someone and is not an actual reproduction of their copyrighted material, an AI voice generating, or not even generating, because the AI voice, the AI product isn't generating the content. There's some people who say, oh, like if you use recordings or whatever that are copyrighted for the AI to train, etc., that's fine. But the AI isn't generating the content at all. The content is actually the product of the person sending in the chat. Like, it's their creative product, right? Subject to the terms and conditions of Supertip. If I haven't read the entire terms and conditions, but if Supertip is not actually taking ownership of the content of the message, like it's as part of the EULA, that might be dumb. But people using Supertip, they're the ones making the creative work, and they're posting that, and then the AI voice is just doing the lifting of the impersonation. Take away whatever you think about anything and just say it's using an AI tool, an AI assistive tool, to produce an artistic work that you lack the artistic skill of to create. For example, like I can't paint or draw very well. So if I ask the AI to draw something, even though it's my creative vision or whatever, I've now utilized a tool that helps me realize my own creative vision, right? Like that is how that works. So long as that tool is not stealing directly from something else that I don't own. But if it is making sufficiently new creation, it is merely a digital paintbrush that I direct with my voice because my hand is insufficient to guide it. All right. That's what an AI generated voice is as well, because impersonation is an art. People who do impressions and impersonations have monetized and sold it as a comedic art form for a long time. To pretend that AI doing it just because it's good at it across a broad array of voices. Most people, if they can do impressions, they can only do a couple. Just because the AI is good at doing it does not make it anything other than a tool for an artist to use to create an artistic work. Kurt knows this. He's using an improper legal theory that has not been not been effectively used in in anything like this to try and get people to stop being able to speak in a certain way that he doesn't like. And that's embarrassing. He should be embarrassed. And some of you have found ways to tell him that.
I would like to add my brand new original character voice, Bert from Embittered Law.
Make it so.
We do have a replacement, like again, not a replacement of Kurt. Like that would be wrong. That would be, we wouldn't want to replace Kurt because Kurt has, asked and for now at least the company has complied with his request to not, and by asked I mean sent a threatening letter, but to not utilize his voice and image. So we now have an open slot for another lawyer or another legal voice that fills the niche that Kurt was there for. But I'm waiting for it to be implemented. I'm hoping it's implemented by the end of the stream today. It's not quite. I've not gotten confirmation that it's there yet. But if it is, that'll be great, and I'll let you know. But also, if not, we'll just we'll have it there tomorrow. But we are working on replacing the much needed voice of Kurt, or not again, not the voice of Kurt. The voice of this category of lawyer. Like it's a very specialized category of law. That's what I'm talking about. You'll see, you'll understand. I'm being very inarticulate. I'm mildly distracted.
People have been saying, have you heard this? That Kurt is feeling betrayed because he heard that I got my spackle from Rekieta's Hardware when that's what he's wanted all along.
Oh no. God damn it.
Seize these nuts, you gout-riddled pile of fat.
Seize these nuts. I cannot get over the Ronnie voice.
Uncivil is a bitch for sending a cease and desist. I'm now going to make many more of him with small changes. Even though they removed it, he still can't unfuck that chicken. ASS cream.
ASS cream. Wait, it won't say ass? How do I get it to say ass cream?
My boy Uncivil Law is such a fat little bitch.
Jeez.
He always seemed extremely gay to me. Why you guys were so nice to him baffles me. The guy looks like J. Edgar Hoover in drag.
Well, I mean, so when he runs, is it drag racing? I don't know. I don't know how that works.
No wonder these lawyers all hated you. You had more views, more subs. You were blowing rails and banging hoes 2 at a time.
Oh, Jesus.
They were so jealous of you. Now they sink to the ultimate low and want to sue for parody. So lame. Only person I'm jealous of is that race car driver friend of yours.
Him a lot.
Is it true he banged that Chia gal with the extra beef between her legs?
God, jeez.
If true, I'm jelly. You betcha.
I am not aware of any copulation that occurred between Camelot and Zia. No, I don't think so.
Kurt is a huge douche. Tried to give him a chance because you, Nick, were trying to help him succeed, but after what he did to you, no more chances.
Speaking of pussies, the most banned queen says, "Oh no, chat. Kurt exercised his legal rights, and now Rackets had to remove Kurt's voice. I didn't. I have no say in it. Now Rackets will call him fat and a nerd. The horror. Yep." I'm going to call him fat and a nerd. I'm going to say his legal analysis is bullshit, but worse, I'm going to say he knows it's bullshit, which that to me, that is far worse than just general incompetence. I've heard Kurt give incompetent legal opinions and analysis before. I never talked about this at all, but like for all the shit people talked about my experience, which I never represented myself as being like this master of practice or having tons of trial experience or anything like that. I had a small practice. My clients got the results they were looking for, and that was good for me. Like that made me happy. That said, I'm not aware of Kurt ever practicing law anywhere at all. So Kurt worked for the Patent Trademark Office. He no longer does. And that's actually, you don't have to be a licensed attorney to do that. you have to pass the patent bar, which is a different animal. I can't be that because I do not have an underlying hard science degree, so I can't pass the patent bar. So like props to people who have done it, but Kurt did go to law school and all that stuff, but Kurt was not a practicing attorney. So, but I don't think that, maybe I'm selectively biased here. I don't think that actually matters that much in providing competent analysis. Well, I shouldn't say that it doesn't matter. It matters insofar as it assists you in making competent analysis, but it's not required for competent analysis. People competently understand subjects all the time without actually, doing them professionally. That's not a barrier to it. I've never taken a case through jury trial. I have done bench trials in family law cases. I have done plenty of motion argument and motion hearings. And I've negotiated everything from mutually beneficial things, contracts and lease agreements, through negotiating plea agreements. So I have some experience, not a ton. I didn't like I didn't like billing for it. And I didn't like the gathering of clients. I liked making the legal arguments. I liked helping people. But it's really hard to tell someone who needs help, no, not unless you give me $15,000 right now. And that's just a start. That's hard to do for me. It's not for everybody. And actually a lot of lawyers, it is tough for them to do that. And that's why they work with a law firm, or they hire someone whose job it is to do that aspect of it, manage that aspect of it. Cause they want to work and they want to focus on how they're best, engaged in the law, and then serving their clients' needs. And serving their clients' needs and billing don't always add up to the same mental state.
To be fair, I only became friends with Kurt because I thought he was Scotty from Boogie Nights.
Damn it. Let's see, what do we got here? We got
Kurt looks like that dude that said in that one movie, it puts the lotion in the basket or else it gets the hose again. Buffalo Bill type of man. Let's hope Nick's next review isn't a video of Kurt listening to Q Lazarus Goodbye Horses. You betcha that would be scary.
Damn. I'm still stuck on him looking like Scotty from Boogie Nights. Yeah, he does look like what's that guy's name? I just mentioned him on the interview with Viva Fry. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Kurt has a Philip Seymour Hoffman resemblance. He has Philip Seymour Hoffman tendencies, I think is the way to describe that.
Kurt, you stupid fat fuck. How about you cease and desist being a retard?
I love Super Tips. You have no idea. You guys are so fucking funny.
Do I look like the kind of guy who has bodies buried in my backyard or hidden under the floorboards in my house? Of course I do, but I'm too lazy to exert that much energy. So I just eat them.
I just eat them. No big deal.
I love you, Nick, but Kurt owns the copyright in the recordings he made of his own voice and any derivative works from those recordings, such as AI-trained imitation. 1A parody doesn't factor in. Bummer.
This is incorrect. These are clearly transformative works. Clearly transformative. You cannot possibly say. Now, if the only sustainable theory on that would be to say that would be to take a copyrighted work, the text of a copyrighted work, and have the AI voice reproduce that copyrighted work, theoretically using the copyrighted work itself. But the generative AI engine, I would challenge, there's no way that the the actual works involved could be identified, like which copyrighted material were used in the generation of the text. And again, it's imitation and impression, parody do factor in. That's the whole part of transformative work. You have no copyrightable interest in your own voice. Yes. If there was an attempt to use the AI voice to recreate specific works that Kurt has done, maybe you have an argument. Let's see. Brimstone says, if you're there, I think you mean theory, is correct, Nick. How did Bruce Willis sell the rights to his likeness to a Hollywood studio to generate AI and put him in future movies? Okay, Bruce Willis has a right of publicity, and he has the ability to monetize his image and voice. And if they're utilizing his likeness as Bruce Willis, right? Like that it is Bruce Willis or is the authorized utilization of Bruce Willis's likeness, then yes, you would need permission to do that. You would have to have authorization to do that because that is being represented as Bruce Willis. All right. And the use of his image and likeness. An AI voice engine making parody jokes is not that, like, no one thinks that that's Kurt. No one's like, you know what? That was definitely uncivil law. They all know that it was somebody else. First of all, their name is displayed on the thing, the person who created the thing, or the donator, I should say, or it says anonymous. It doesn't represent itself as uncivil law or Kurt or anything else. It's not doing that. That is what has in the past been the protectable use of image, likeness, voice, etc. Because people are able to control the beneficial use of their likeness. They're not able to control people mocking them. It's just, sorry, like that. It's a free speech issue. It's been this way forever. Hustler versus Falwell has been brought up in the chat several times. You get to make fun of people. You just do. No, I don't think I could like collect a bunch of nasty things and send it to Kurt and be like, here you go, you piece of shit. Like, I can't do that. Well, I mean, maybe you can, but you shouldn't do that. Right? But publishing jokes, even mocking jokes about someone online is protected. You know how I know? Psycho Crusher 69 says Kurt's gravitational pull not only attracts food, but also all the verbal ass whooping coming his way. I don't know why he thought it was a good idea to do this. It seems really, really stupid. Because he had to know that the response is going to be much, much more mockery. Because now he looks like a bitch.
The evidence will show that Kurt is in fact a glacier. He is sad, cold, gigantic, and sinks ships.
See, that's the kind of creativity I love. He is sad, cold, gigantic, and sinks ships.
Oh, hell now. Kurt ain't no damn glacier. He's a whole ass Pluto. Big ball of waste trying to get his thunder thimble in that dollhouse. Underwater chicken tickling degree ass mofo. Kurt is a goddamn flesh volcano. Adipose tissue fires from his neck like the goddamn Iron Dome. Enough with the eating caldera, Kurt. You put Mount Vesuvius to shame.
The eating caldera. Adipose tissue fires from his neck like the goddamn Iron Dome. Oh, that was magnificent. So just for a moment, we'll bring this up because I saw this in a comment section already about why people are right. And this merits a brief discussion. This issue is not straightforward. You have to understand some legal jargon. That's what I'm here for, baby. Written consent required for commercial use. Now, I know if you don't know anything about the law, or if you're intentionally deceptive, you will say, well, obviously super tips are for commercial use, but that's not what commercial use means. This is a term of art that is being used here. But let's take a peek. There is a right of publicity in name, voice, signature, photograph, or likeness of every person. The right endures for a term consisting of life of the person and 50 years after his or her death, regardless of whether the person commercially exploits the right during his or her lifetime. Oh, that's nice. Any commercial use by another of the name, voice, signature, photograph, or likeness of the person requires a written consent of that person or his or her successor in interest, unless we have some unlesses here. Now, this is Nevada, which I believe Supertips is located in Nevada, and another state. Corporations can be located in 2 states. This is Nevada, where the law specifically may apply. Of course, the other state could have a different law, and there could be a federal law. Spoiler alert, they're all subject to the same First Amendment protections, and so they're all they're going to be comparable here. But so this sounds like, oh my God, commercial use. That's making money off of a voice. No. But unless, so this is important, the use is contained in material which is commercially sponsored, but the use is not directly connected with the commercial sponsorship. The commercial activity, commercial use, is about using a voice to promote a product in a serious manner. To say, like, you should use Tide. Tide is endorsed by me. I'm Kurt of Uncivil Law, right? Like, and I endorse Tide laundry detergent. That's a commercial use. Not someone made money using my voice to make fun of me. That's not a commercial use under the legal definition here. So the use is an attempt to portray, imitate, simulate, or impersonate a person in a live performance. So we have another fucking problem, right? Now we're talking about using Supertips on live streams. So that's not in the statute. Are we going to argue that a live stream is not a live performance? Next, the use is in connection with a news, public affairs, or sports broadcast or publication. Use is in connection with. That seems broad. I will say that is probably not just like, obviously this is this trial watching is news. News, it's public affairs or sports broadcast or publication. So we're not doing a sports broadcast, but what we're doing is easily comparable to a sports broadcast or similar type of publication. So the use is in connection there. I would say this would be a stretch, though. They're more talking about using the actual likeness of someone in a news capacity, and that's not what we're doing. So I don't want to misrepresent, because it's tempting to do this. Now, how you would find out is to go through and look at the actual application through the state appellate courts and see how they've defined these terms and how they've refined them out, or to see if there's an annotated commentary. But we don't need that for a basic legal analysis. And I'm telling you, like, this one would be tempting to use and beneficial to me. I'm going to say this one probably doesn't apply. First two definitely have strong application in what we're doing. So the use is an attempt to portray, imitate, simulate, or impersonate a person in a play, book, magazine article, newspaper article, musical composition, film, or radio, television, or other audio or visual program, except where the use is directly connected with commercial sponsorship. So yet again, the right of publicity is the right to control what you endorse and sponsor. It is not the right to have people not make fun of you. Kurt knows this. And if he doesn't know it, he's fucking retarded. Like, there's no other way. If you've researched this issue at all, this is the conclusion you come to. It's the current state of law. Could the courts change this related to AI at some point? Yes, they could, but they haven't. The statute says no. And for a court to come in and be like, wait, no, they can't do that because it's AI. We'd have to go, why? Like, where is it? The statute exempts it from these types of performances. Next, the use is in connection with an original work of art, except that the multiple editions of such work of art require consent. I would argue that a live stream, a live broadcast, is an original work of art, although I don't know that that's what the statute is calling for here. But again, it's not necessary to have that. We have several other arguments. You would want to, if you're drafting a brief, you would want to write each one of these as supporting your position, but acknowledging that this would be a weaker one. This is, I'm going to say, suggestive of more traditional works of art, painting the portrait of someone, etc. The use is in connection with an advertisement or commercial announcement for a use permitted by this subsection, which we're not talking about here. The use is in connection with the efforts of a governmental agency, blah, blah, blah. So this is the issue of whether a use is directly connected with a commercial sponsorship is a question of fact to be determined by the trier of fact in an action brought pursuant to 597.810. And then we're talking about governmental agency here. We could take a peek at 810 real quick. But what injunctive relief and action at law for any injury sustained, actual damages, but not less than 750, and exemplary or punitive damages. Again, so this is just the punishment section authorized under civil law. But what you've got is still the problem that none of what there's specific exemptions under Nevada law that say, no, these are the okay uses. And these are the uses of Supertips. This law is based on the First Amendment protections that are inherently baked into, the creation of art. Parody is art. Comedy is art. Impression is art. Mockery is art, if you're good at it. And to suggest that you have that people have a right to control being mocked has never been the case in the United States. So I just want to, we don't even need to go into, you can't copyright your own voice. You just can't. And trying to say that the generative AI voices are merely an aggregation of original works by the other person is definitely not true. That's not true at all, because you upload a series of dialogue, like you upload words, and you can actually argue that is quite transformative from its original purpose. That being said, you upload a segment of speech, and then the engine generates words that aren't included in there. So you can't argue that it's just regurgitating portions of works. It does something different. It creates an impression of intonation of how things would be said, even if they weren't said in what was provided. So you have a weak argument there, and that it is not going to hold. The cases that have held in favor of the right of publicity have involved celebrities and have involved false endorsements. All of those cases are cases where the listener or is supposed to believe that the original person is doing it. Supertips are obviously parody. No one thinks that that's Kurt. No one thinks that it's me. They should. Everything that's said is me. I said all of it, obviously.
Let me tell you a story about a guy named Kurt. Started a YouTube channel and got his feelings hurt. Then one day he was hunting for young girls. His cellmate gonna be giving him that necklace of pearls.
Jesus.
Kurt is a fat retard. It's been at least 5 years since he's seen his peen, and even longer than that since someone's touched it.
Damn. That's from one turbo fat to another. So again, this is a day of mockery. A day of mockery of bad legal opinion, and more importantly, intentionally incorrect legal opinion for the purpose of influencing someone else. And that's bullshit. For stifling speech. Kurt got mocked in a couple Supertips. So what does he do? I'm gonna sue. I should sue him. Name, image, and likeness. Sure, Kurt. We'll see. Hodgepodge. Sean said he's glad that Nick is making a few bucks off him because at least someone is paying for his kids' snacks and new clothes, finally. Yeah, sure. All right.